Have you wondered what's happened to our friend Diddy lately? As in Diddy or didn't he? Well, a Los Angeles judge has allowed a high-profile sexual assault lawsuit against Mr. Sean Diddy Combs and parties connected to the estate of the Notorious B.I.G. to move forward, settling the stage, or rather I should say setting the stage, for a legal battle that now reaches deep into the music industry's most recognizable names and legacies. Now, in a ruling that rejected most attempts to dismiss the case, Los Angeles Superior Court Judge Michael E. Whitaker cleared the way for plaintiff Jonathan Hay, a music producer, to pursue claims that Combs assaulted him during a 2020 studio session. The decision keeps alive allegations of sexual battery, false imprisonment, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. One claim of negligent supervision was dismissed, but the central accusations remain completely and totally intact. Now, what we have here is the following. Mr. Hay alleges in court filings that Combs supplied him with drugs, including ketamine, before beating and sexually assaulting him. According to the complaint, Combs forced his organ into Mr. Hay's mouth during what Hay describes as a non-consensual encounter tied to a music project involving the estate of the late rapper Christopher Wallace, known worldwide, of course, as the Notorious B.I.G. Now, the lawsuit also names Wallace's estate and his son, Christopher CJ Wallace, as defendants. Mr. Hay claims that individuals connected to the project were aware of Combs' behavior and that Wallace played a role in drawing him into a situation that led to the alleged assault. Judge Whitaker's ruling requires Wallace to formally respond to the complaint by February the 13th. Now, in an interview following the decision, Mr. Hay described the ruling as a pivotal moment in what he called a painful chapter of his life. He said the judge's order represents a chance to have his allegations heard in full after months of legal maneuvering aimed at narrowing or dismissing the case altogether. Now, the complaint paints a disturbing picture of the alleged incident. Hay says he was excited to collaborate on a project tied to the legacy of the Notorious B.I.G., who was killed in a 1997 drive-by shooting in Los Angeles and remains one of hip-hop's most influential figures. That excitement, Hay says, turned into fear and humiliation during the 2020 studio session. Now, court records allege that Mr. Hay was masked and beaten before the sexual assault occurred. The complaint further claims that after the act, Combs referenced the late rapper and threw a T-shirt associated with him onto Hay. Hay characterizes the episode as degrading and traumatic, and he alleges that it caused lasting emotional harm. The lawsuit arrives at Combs faces mounting legal scrutiny on multiple fronts. While the details of this case are distinct, it adds to a growing list of civil claims and investigations that have placed the, once music mogul under an intense spotlight. Los Angeles authorities opened a criminal investigation into Mr. Hay's allegations last year, although no charges have been announced in connection with this specific claim. Attorneys representing Combs and Wallace, of course, did not respond to requests for comment regarding the judge's ruling. I can't blame them. The absence of an immediate public response leaves many questions unanswered about how the defendants plan to challenge the allegations as the case proceeds into discovery and potential trial preparation. Now, many legal observers and experts say the judge's decision does not determine guilt or innocence. Of course, that is axiomatic, but it does signal that the court believes the plaintiff has presented sufficient factual allegations to justify moving forward. At this stage, the court's role is to evaluate whether the complaint, if proven true, would support legal claims. Now, by allowing the core counts to proceed, Judge Whitaker effectively concluded that Mr. Hay's allegations meet that initial threshold. The involvement of the Notorious B.I.G.'s estate adds a sensitive dimension to the dispute. The rapper's legacy has been carefully managed for decades through licensing deals, tributes, and ongoing projects that keep his music and image in the public eye. Any litigation linking the estate to allegations of sexual assault threatens to complicate that legacy and draw renewed attention to the business relationships surrounding it. Mr. Hay has emphasized repeatedly that his admiration for the Notorious B.I.G. was a major reason he agreed to participate in the project that led to the alleged incident. He said working with the estate initially felt like an honor. In his account, the presence of Combs changed the atmosphere and introduced what he described as coercive and abusive conduct. The case will now move into a phase where both sides will exchange evidence. This is the discovery process and take sworn testimony called depositions, and that process could include depositions of key witnesses, production of studio records, and examination of communications related to the project. Such discovery often shapes the trajectory of high-profile civil suits, sometimes leading to settlements and sometimes sharpening the issues for trial. For Mr. Combs, the lawsuit represents yet another reputational challenge in an industry that has increasingly confronted allegations of misconduct and abuse for power. Now, the music business has been has seen a wave of legal actions in recent years as artists and producers and executives face claims tied to behavior that plaintiffs say went unchecked for years. Each new case tests how courts and the public weigh celebrity, influence, and accountability. The claims against Wallace and the estate hinge in part on Mr. Hay's assertion that others connected to the project knew or should have known about the risk of harm. Although the judge dismissed the negligent supervision count, the remaining claims still require the court to examine the roles played by various participants in arranging and overseeing the studio session. As the February 13 date looms and approaches for Wallace's response, the attention will likely focus on how the defendants frame their defenses. They may challenge the factual basis of Hay's account, dispute the characterization of events, or argue that the estate and Wallace bear no legal responsibility for Combs' alleged actions. Those arguments will unfold in court filings that could further illuminate the relationships among the parties. Now, my friends, remember, meanwhile, Mr. Hay says the ruling offers a measure of validation after what he describes as a long struggle to be taken seriously. Civil litigation can be a slow and agonizing and taxing process, particularly in cases involving prominent figures and complex business ties. Plaintiffs often face aggressive legal strategies aimed at limiting exposure or discouraging pursuit of claims. The judge's order, in fact, ensures that for now, Mr. Hay's allegations will receive a full hearing in the judicial system. Now, whether the case ultimately ends in trial, settlement, or dismissal at a later stage remains uncertain. What is clear, however, is that the dispute has already drawn significant attention and placed another layer of scrutiny on one of the music industry's most powerful personalities. And as the proceedings continue, the court will be ever mindful and serve, by the way, as the forum for testing the credibility of the competing narratives. For Mr. Hay, the lawsuit is an attempt to seek accountability, invalidation, and damages for what he says was a violent and humiliating assault. For Combs, Wallace, and the estate, it is a legal fight with implications that extend beyond a single project to the broader question of how legacy, power, and responsibility all intersect in modern entertainment. The coming months are expected to bring a steady stream of filings and hearings as the case advances. Each step will add detail to a controversy that blends celebrity, alleged abuse, and the enduring influence of a cultural icon whose name now sits at the center of a contentious courtroom battle. And that, my friend, remains to be seen, and we will be talking about that as issues develop and arise. I want to thank you, my friends, for listening, for being a part of this, for subscribing. Please subscribe if you haven't to Lionel Legal. Please like this video. Hit that little bell so you're notified of live streams and new videos as they occur. And I've got some questions for you in the comments section, which I'd like you to review and to add your expertise and your observations to what is going to be most certainly a fascinating case. Thank you as usual, my friends. Thank you for watching Lionel Legal. Please, again, subscribe and like and comment as you see fit.